My Friend the Slut. This is a very special story to me, one that I hold very close to my heart, even after almost 40 years. As a young boy, I had no family and I had no friends. I had absolutely no one in the world to look out after me. I was probably 13 or 14 years old when the court decided to allow me to live on my own. It was either that or I'd be sent back to the reform school at Mariana. The juvenile court had set me up with a job at Murphy's Heating and Sheet Metal Shop. They also paid for my room for 4 weeks. It was at a boarding house located on Forsyth Street, just about 2 blocks from the juvenile court building in Jacksonville, Florida. Every day I got up at 4 a.m. and I began my 4-mile walk to the Arlington area where the shop was located. The first week that I walked to work, it rained 4 out of 5 days. I was soaked to the bone by the time I arrived. Nevertheless, I worked hard all day and I held my own. Each day after work, I walked the 4 miles back to my room where I changed my clothes. Then I walked down to the Crystal Hamburger and I bought myself 5 small hamburgers for 50 cents. Then I returned to my room, locked the door, ate, and lay on my bed until I would fall asleep. On Friday, when I was paid, I asked one of the men that I worked for how I could cash my paper check. He took me to the office where they cashed it for me. When I got back to the boarding house, I walked up to my room. I made it through my door, and I noticed that there were 3 or 4 sailors standing in the hallway. All of them were drinking beer. They were laughing with one another, and they were talking very loud. When they saw me, they walked into the room next to mine, and they closed the door. As I changed my clothes, I could hear them through the wall getting louder and louder. All at once, I heard a girl yell, and then she started laughing. I opened my door and walked out into the hallway just in time. Several sailors came out of the room. "Where are you headed, kid?" asked one of the men. "I'm going to eat some crystal," I replied. "Can you pick us up some?" asked one of the sailors. "Sure." They handed me $4 and told me to bring them back 20 burgers and some french fries. When I returned, I gave them their food, and then I took mine to my room. Over the next few hours, many more people joined the party. For hours they continued to drink. The more they drank, the rowdier they became. "Get that damn slut out of here," yelled one man. I heard their door open and a loud yell. Then I heard someone fall into the hallway. After their door closed, I slowly opened mine and peeked down the hallway. There was a woman sitting on the floor. Her back was against the wall. I noticed that her lip was bleeding. "Are you okay?" I asked her. "Can you help me to my room?" I walked out of the hallway and I helped her to her feet. She hobbled as she leaned against my shoulder, her remaining hand on the wall, balanced as we walked down the hallway. "I'm in room 20, she said. I helped her around the corner to her room. She unlocked her door and I helped her to her bed. She crawled up onto the bed and she just lay there, not moving a muscle. I took the key from her hand and I laid it on the dresser. Then I walked down to the bathroom near the end of the hallway where I got some toilet paper for her lip. I walked back to her room and I placed the toilet paper on her mouth. Then I told her bye and I locked her door as I left. As I was returning to my room, I saw 3 sailors standing by the hallway right next to my door, still drinking beer. The 4th was standing in my room, right inside the doorway. As I approached, he moved away. Not one of them said a word. When I entered my room, I closed the door and I locked it behind me. When I sat down on my bed, I noticed that my dresser drawer was open. Quickly, I ran over to the dresser and I looked inside. My heart began to race when I saw that all my money was missing. I sat down on the floor and I started breathing as hard as I could. Oh God, what am I going to do for food money?" I whispered to myself. "Those sailor guys stole all my pay money," I said aloud. I walked back over the door and I opened it. Slowly, I looked out into the hallway and saw that there was no one there. All at once, I heard a loud commotion around the hallway near room 20. I made my way around the corner where the hallway turned and I peeked around to see what was happening. "Screw that slut, let's go," said one of the sailors as he started down the staircase. The other 2 men just kept laughing and banging on her door. "Open the door, you damn slut," one sailor kept yelling. I wanted to say something to him about my money, but I was just too scared and I was too afraid. "Come on, let's get out of here," said one of the sailors. The 3 of them headed down the stairs and out the front door they went. I stood there for the longest time, my face held against the cool wall, worrying about my money and what I was going to do for food. Suddenly the door of room 20 opened and the woman came out into the hallway. She walked down the hallway to the far end, and then she closed the bathroom door. When she did, I turned and walked back to my room. I locked my door and I lay back down on my bed and I started to cry. "Are you awake?" asked a voice at my door. I wiped my eyes on the bedsheet and then I walked over to the door and I opened it. There stood the woman from room 20. "Thank you for helping me, Sonny. My name's Gloria." I reached up and I wiped my eyes as the tears were still running down my cheeks. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Those sailor guys stole all my money." "Those bastards!" she yelled. "I don't know what I'm going to do for food." "Come on," she said as she reached out and grabbed me by the hand. The two of us walked down to her room where she set me down on the edge of her bed. She picked up her purse and began rummaging through it. "Here, take this," she said as she held out a $10 bill. "If you run short, you let me know." "Thank you, ma'am," I said as I stood up and took the money from her hand. "No, thank you for being kind to me," she told me. I reached over, and then she stood up, and she pulled me close to her. Then she wrapped her arms around me, and she hugged me as tightly as she could. I remember feeling her warm, bearless breast against the side of my teenage face. I stood there in total shock. "Would you like to spend the night in my room?" she whispered. "No, ma'am," I told her, shaking my head back and forth real fast. "Well, if you change your mind, you come back and knock on my door, okay?" "Thank you for the food money. I'll pay you back. Really, I will." "I know you will," she said, as she kissed me on the forehead. I walked out into the hallway and I turned around to look at her. She smiled at me, then she closed her door. I stood there for several minutes thinking about what just happened to me. I wanted so much to knock on her door and tell her that I wanted to spend the night. However, I was just too nervous and scared. Even if she did let me back in her room, I wouldn't know what to do or say. I knew about the sex thing, but I didn't have the slightest idea on how to start the process. Several times I raised my hand to knock on her door. However, every time I did, my heart began to race, and I shook so badly that I couldn't hardly stand upright. Slowly, I lowered my hand, turned, and walked back to my room. Over the next months, Gloria and I became very good friends. She never would take back the $10 that I owed her. In fact, when she had men callers to her room, she would have them pay me to go to Crystal and pick up food for them. She always made sure that they bought food for me as well as give me a great big tip. One Friday, she told me she was going out of town for the weekend. I never saw her again after that. Many times over the months, I heard sailors call my friend a slut and a whore. I'm not sure if what Gloria was doing was right or wrong. That was not for me to say. All I knew for sure is that she was a very kind person. A person who added much to the life of a very lonely little teenage boy. A boy who had nothing in his life to look forward to except walking to work many days in the rain and staying all alone in his boarding house room. Gloria, I have thought about you many times over the last 40 years. Thank you for being my friend. And thank you for caring about me. Thank you.